couple of years ago, our family went through a heartache we didn't anticipate. Our circumstances felt unfair, our journey unsure, and as you can imagine, we were tempted to despair. I'm sure you can recall a similar season in your own life when everything seemed, well, dead, hopeless, the opposite of blooming. For likely all of us, 2020 has felt like a winter season. I remember coming in the new year full of drive, excitement, and opportunity. So many long anticipated events were marked out on the calendar, and I knew fulfillment in all that God was calling me to. And then a global pandemic hit. It didn't just hit our communities, our hospitals, our economy, travel, and friendship, a school for our kids. No, it hit us emotionally. I remember initially feeling like so many others, ready to make the most of these unexpected circumstances. But after 5 months, worldwide devastation, and no real answers, I'll be honest, I started feeling, well, really hopeless. Winter, you know that season. It feels like waiting for change. Winter feels like harsh conditions and an unforgiving earth beneath your feet. Winter feels like chapped lips and achy bones. Winter feels like wondering if anything will ever bloom again. From this unexpected season in 2020 that started with a global pandemic and has really continued in so much heartache and loss, what a season it's been. At times, it's felt like the world is falling apart, right? And at times, I've wondered if I was falling apart. With all that's noisy on the news or on social media, it's been easy to fill my mind and my heart every day with fear of the unknown or with hopelessness over the division we see everywhere. As I prepared to come share my heart with you, friends, I was reminded once again that our souls know no rest apart from resting in the unchanging character of God. When life doesn't turn out the way we expect it to, when we're faced with disappointment, loss, and struggle to know why we're given the circumstances we're in, we find ourselves in a place where feel-good platitudes and affirmations simply won't do. That's when we have to turn to the character of God. Is he trustworthy? Is he in control? Is he who he says he is? Is he worthy? Does he love me? Will he right every wrong? You see, when we know the character of God, know really from his word, we can rest in him and not in our circumstances. For me, clinging to the character of God always accompanies the winter seasons of my heart. The winter season of the heart is when I am tempted to think God is not at work and that nothing good is happening. The passage we're in this week out of Colossians is the foundation for all that we will preach to ourselves for the rest of the study. Without this section of the letter, the rest of it would lack power or substance. Friends, we're not so different from the original recipients of the letter to the Colossians. They were surrounded by people who sought to add to the gospel, prescribe human efforts, or to twist its power into something that we as human beings can manipulate or earn through human effort. We have our own modern day version of this. We are addicted to self-sufficiency, control, and being the heroes of our own stories, aren't we? A.W. Tozer famously said, "What comes into our minds when we think about God is the most important thing about us." So how do we preach the truth about who God is when we're forgetful? Well, Paul helps us out in the first chapter of Colossians. He shows us that we're not at the center of everything. Christ is. It's not all up to us to fix all that's broken. Only Christ is before all things and the one who holds all things together. Paul makes sure we remember the truth of who Christ is. He is above all. Read with me out of Colossians chapter 1, verse 19 and 20. For in him all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell, and through him to reconcile to himself all things, whether on earth or in heaven, making peace by the blood of his cross. Because of this, we have the kind of peace that a pandemic cannot steal. So friends, just like spring follows the winter with the new signs of life, when we rest in the character of God, we find our identity in him. It only makes sense, right? That once we truly believe and rest in who he is, we are then able to believe and rehearse the truth of who he says we are in Christ. Everyone loves to see the unfurling of new leaves on branches and buds that form in spring. But next week, we'll look at why it's so important to practice preaching the truth of our identity in Christ if we want to see those buds grow into maturity. I can't wait to see you next week.